Hi everyone, it's Sandy, and today I'm really excited to film the Try a Chapter tag. If you're not familiar with the Try a Chapter videos, in each video you essentially choose a handful of books. In this video I'm choosing 5, and you will read the first chapter in each book and then decide what book you want to pick up next. But then throughout the video you talk about your thoughts and first impressions on each chapter that you read. This is actually a video that I've been wanting to film for years but just never got around to doing it, but I just finished my current read, so this is the perfect timing for me to finally do this tag video. And I've really been in the fantasy mood lately, so this video will be a fantasy edition of the Try a Chapter tag. So these are all of the books that I selected, and I'm going to go through them one by one. The first one is The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. Then we have Wicked Fox by Kat Cho, The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi, Truthwitch by Dennard, and lastly Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. Once I start talking about each individual book, that's when I'm going to give a synopsis of those books. So let's go ahead and jump right in, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of this video. All the books that I chose are a mixture of some recently released books and some books that have been out for a while. And out of all the books that I mentioned, The Beautiful is the most recent release. So I'm going to start off with this one. All I know about this book is that it takes place in 1872 in New Orleans, which is a city that's ruled by vampires. And it follows our main character Celine, who is 17 years old. She is taken in by this convent, and lately there has been a bunch of murders going on, and somehow Celine gets involved with that because a lot of the victims are girls from the convent that she's staying with. Before going into this, I have only read The Wrath and the Dawn by this author, and I was one of those people that didn't enjoy The Wrath and the Dawn, so I'm a bit nervous to go into this because I didn't like the author's first book, and I have heard some mixed reviews on this, but I'm definitely trying to go into this book with an open mind. This story does sound really interesting, and I'm really excited to see the author's take on vampires, so I'm going to go ahead and start diving in. Oh, there's a bookmark in here. I guess I'll use this as a bookmark. So the first chapter of The Beautiful is literally 2 pages, and I think it's kind of a prologue even though it doesn't say prologue. But the chapter that follows that has a chapter title, and this chapter that I just read doesn't have a title, so I think this is a prologue. And when it comes to prologue, I'm going to cheat a little. I don't know if it counts as cheating or whatever, but I'm doing this my way, and if there's a prologue, I'll read the prologue and then the very first chapter. Since what I just read was less than 2 pages, I'm just going to read the next chapter and then stop there. So I just finished that chapter, and that means I've read 7 pages so far. So there was like a little bit of a prologue, and then the chapter that I just read was like 5 pages. It's really hard to give a first impression on something that I haven't read much of. The scene that's shown in the first chapter kind of reminds me of the opening scene in a movie. So far we're introduced to 2 characters, and that's Celine, who is the main character, and then Pippa, who seems to be a friend of Celine. They're both on this ship and they're heading to New Orleans. And both of these characters have heard stories and rumors about New Orleans being haunted, filled with magic, cursed with pirates, all of that stuff. So there's definitely kind of like a hint of darkness in that first chapter, but also kind of a hint of hope because these characters have left their lives behind and they're traveling to this new city to start over. So that's my first impression of The Beautiful so far, and now let's move on to my next read. I'm going to choose Wicked Fox to read next. I'm super excited about this because I've been wanting to read it since I've heard of it, and I received this from my Book of the Month YA July box. I am a Book of the Month YA affiliate, so if you're interested in signing up for a YA book subscription service, definitely check out my link down below. If you sign up during the month of October and you use the code PSL5, you can get your first book for only $9.99. I think that's a good deal. If you have any questions, let me know, but I have my link down below. But anyways, back to the story. It takes place in modern day Seoul, following an 18-year-old main character, and she is a gumiho, which means that she is a 9-tailed fox, and in order to survive, she has to consume the energy of men. However, she's also half human, so she only kills men who have committed terrible crime. One day, she witnesses this handsome boy being attacked by a goblin, so she intervenes, which reveals herself to be a gumiho to this boy, and as a result she loses her fox speed, and without this fox speed she will die. So the story involves a journey of her trying to restore her fox speed, but also developing this romance with the boy that she just saved. I've heard really great things about this book, so I'm really looking forward to reading this. This is probably the one I'm most excited for, so I'm going to read the first chapter now. So I just finished the first chapter in Wicked Fox, and I can say that I really like that because we're put right into a scene where the main character is hunting down a man for her next feeding. And I love it when books kind of start off with some sort of action scene, and this is it. It introduces the main character being a gomiho and who she works with in order to do her hunting. I thought it was really interesting to see this whole process happening. This first chapter was only 8 pages, so similar to The Beautiful, it was not very long, but I really enjoyed this a lot. So as of now, I'm definitely leaning more towards starting this book compared to The Beautiful, but I still have 3 books left, so I don't know what my final choice will be yet. The next book I'm going to start is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I do think this is a book that's really hyped up on BookTube. I know a lot of people who love this book, and so I've been wanting to read it, but again, similar to The Beautiful, I've been hesitant to pick up another Laini Taylor book because I wasn't a huge fan of Daughter of Smoke and Bone, but obviously this is a different story, so I do want to give Laini Taylor another chance. All I know is that it follows this main character named Laszlo Strange, and since he was 5 years old, he's been really into trying to find this mythic lost city of Weep. There's also this blue-skinned goddess that's appearing in his dreams, and that's pretty much all I know about the book. The synopsis does not give you a lot of information, so immediately opening this page, I already see there's a prologue, so I'm going to read the prologue and then the very first chapter. So I just finished chapter 1 of I was gonna say Stranger Things, but no, that's not what I read. So I just finished chapter 1 of Strange the Dreamer, and the first chapter was called Mysteries of Weep, and Weep is this lost city that apparently vanished for whatever reason, and we don't know why. I don't really know how I feel about this first chapter. It's definitely a lot to process because it's kind of told in Laszlo's point of view when he was younger and he was learning about the city of Weep. Laszlo's also an orphan. He seems very imaginative. I'm definitely really intrigued about finding more information about this city called Weep. Also, there's a bunch of cities being named throughout that first chapter, and I feel like it'd be really nice if there was a map so I could refer to it and kind of visually see where all these places are located. But as of now, I would say that Wicked Fox is definitely one that I'm leaning more towards, but if I had to choose a second option, so far it'd be Strange the Dreamer and then The Beautiful. Next, I'm going to pick up The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi. It takes place in 1889, it's set in Paris, and it follows a group of characters that are trying to hunt down this ancient artifact. So that's pretty much all I know about the book, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. So I just read 14 pages from The Gilded Wolves. There was a prologue before that first chapter. I really liked what I read so far. For some reason, that prologue reminds me of an opening scene from Vampire Diaries where someone is being killed, and that is what happened in that prologue. And with that first chapter, it's kind of similar to Wicked Fox because it places you in the middle of an action scene going on. And I love the way that first chapter ended because it was like, oh shit, things are about to go down. So for now, I'm definitely stuck between either starting Wicked Fox or The Gilded Wolves first, but I do have one more chapter to read, and that is from the book Truthwitch by Dennard. This is definitely a book that I've owned for a really long time, and I just never got around to reading it. I feel like with this book, I really have to be in a certain mood to pick it up, and I just haven't. This book is set on a continent that's ruled by 3 empires, and some people are born with witchery, which is a magical skill that sets them apart from other people. The first main character is Safia, and she is a truth witch. She is able to know when someone is lying and when they're telling the truth. However, she must keep this ability a secret because if people find out, especially the nobility, that she is a truth witch, they would basically want to claim her and use her. The second main character is Isolde, and she is a thread witch. She is Safia's best friend, and she can see the invisible ties that bind the lives around her. However, she can't see her own. Both of these characters want to be free to live their own lives, but they're also working together in order to survive. Out of all those fantasy books that I talked about earlier, this is the only one that has a map, and there's no prologue in this, so it immediately starts off with chapter 1. Let's read that first chapter and see whether or not I'll pick it up. So this first chapter was about 8 pages, and honestly, I don't know what I just read. Whenever I read fantasy books, I try to imagine myself in the world that these characters are in, and for this one I just had a hard time placing myself in this world and getting a grasp as to what the characters are doing and why they're doing what they're doing. I don't really know what was happening in this first chapter, and I don't have like a strong need to continue reading to find out, so this probably isn't going to be what I'll be picking up. Earlier I mentioned I was stuck between Wicked Fox and the Gilded Wolves, and I think I'm going to pick up the Gilded Wolves next. I just really liked the action that was occurring in this. Not only did I really enjoy what I've read so far, I'm actually in the mood to pick this book up. I want to read a fantasy book that follows a group of characters. So far I really love the atmosphere and the setting of the story, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know all of these characters. The synopsis describes this group of characters as a band of unlikely experts, so I'm really looking forward to learning more about these characters and seeing their relationships with one another and seeing this overall adventure that they go on. So I am going to be picking this book up next, but I will definitely be starting Wicked Fox pretty soon because I do plan on buddy reading this with Trin in November. So that is it for the try a chapter tag. This is my first time doing this tag, and I definitely want to do more of them in the future. If you've read any of these books, please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye!